Good morning. My name's Lauren Neathammer, and this is the Unit 3 Assignment 1 slideshow on informal assessment. Informal assessments are very important, and they provide teachers with a lot of different benefits. First things first, they allow teachers to assess student understanding of the lesson, which is obviously critical as that is the whole point of teaching. We want to know if our students got the objective or not, if they understand. It also provides opportunity for teachers to clarify areas of confusion quickly, and frequent informal assessment allows teachers to address those areas of confusion and correct them throughout the lesson. It also determines the speed of a lesson, whether or not students are understanding, um, can be assessed with informal assessment. And then if you're seeing that students are not understanding, you obviously need to slow down, go back and clarify some areas. It also identifies again which students have mastered the lesson objectives, and which students need more practice in order to do that. And it also allows teachers to provide feedback to students, and allows teachers to just correct those areas of confusion again, and provide students with that feedback. So let's go ahead and take a look at some examples. First informal assessment would be a work sample. A possible use would be having students submit a digital assignment to Schoology. I often have students do this at the end of a lesson to see if students have mastered the lesson objective. This would require the iPad, the app Schoology, and would also allow students to use talk to text or the keyboard to type if they have trouble with their handwriting. Some advantages of using this informal assessment along with this ed tech and assistive technology is that Schoology provides students with a platform to get feedback. So students can submit the assignment and teachers can provide feedback to students and correct those areas of confusion. Some disadvantages that I have experienced is that it creates the opportunity for students to not provide their own responses. By this, I mean students can either look something up on the internet or ask a friend and submit that work as their own. Obviously, this is an issue everywhere, but most of the time it's an issue for me as an educator because then I don't understand or can't gauge as to whether or not the student understands the lesson objective or if they're just using somebody else's understanding. And so that the using technology in this way can cause that disadvantage. The second informal assessment tool is the interview tool. I use this very often throughout my lessons. We use the WebEx app as a virtual platform to connect students when they are not in the building. And this platform has the opportunity for students to either give a thumbs up or thumbs down emoji to show their understanding. The ed tech you would need, again, would be the iPad and this WebEx app. I often use this because it provides students opportunity to show whether they're confused or not in a low risk scenario without talking. So if they're not understanding and they give a thumbs down, I can kind of put that in the back of my mind and go over and review something in hopes that it will clarify for them. Some disadvantages with this is that students may struggle with gauging their own understanding of a topic. Students may not know if they understand or not, and they may think that they understand and that they're good with it, but they really need some more assistance and they need to go back and review. The third tool that I use is elevator pitches and exit tickets. One video we watched in the lesson refers to them as elevator pitches. I refer to them as an exit ticket. But essentially, it's the same use. You're having students submit a discussion to Schoology summarizing what they learned in a few sentences, a brief summary. And the ed tech would be your iPad, the Schoology, and this will allow students to either use the talk to text or keyboard to type. So I like doing this because at the end of a lesson, having students put into their own words what they've learned allows me to gauge whether or not they've understood the lesson. and it allows me to see which students need more clarification. The only disadvantage is that other students can see a classmate responses, and when you have it set up in this discussion format, if one student doesn't understand and can't summarize it correctly, other students will be able to see that. And I think for some students, this causes an issue because if they didn't understand, they don't want to put a discussion post up so that their other peers can see it because they don't want their other peers to know that they don't understand. And that may prohibit some students from completing this informal assessment, and therefore you will not be able to gauge their understanding of the objective. Last but not least, the fourth formal assessment tool that I want to talk about is Kahoot. I often have students play Kahoot about the content of the lesson, create these based on essential questions in the lesson, and these questions typically gauge student understanding of the lesson. So the assistive technology or ed tech would be the iPad, the Kahoot website, and I often use this with our WebEx platform in a way so that students who are not in the classroom can also be engaged in this lesson. So Kahoot provides a platform for students and teachers to get feedback on understanding of a lesson in the way that if students are doing the Kahoot and they get an answer wrong, they then see the right answer and they can, kind of put that away for their clarification on that topic. And also, it provides me with the understanding of what students are mastering these goals. So at the end of the Kahoot, you can see the questions that students have answered incorrectly. And if I see a large majority of students have answered a question incorrectly, that tells me that that's an area that needs to be revisited. The disadvantage of a Kahoot is it does create somewhat of a high pressure environment. Questions are timed, and some students may struggle with this environment and may feel like that time pressure, um, it impedes their ability to answer the questions. So it may not be an accurate gauge of their actual understanding. And instead, it's actually impeding their ability to demonstrate what they know. Overall, ed tech and assistive technology allows more students to engage in informal assessment. And this is critical because in order to understand what your students have obtained of the lesson, you need to get everybody's participation in the informal assessment. I also think informal assessment is crucial because it can shape the next day's lesson if you understand and if you've gauged what your students have understood and they've all mastered the lesson objective, you can move on to the next lesson. However, if you're seeing a lot of confusion, then you need to go back and clarify, or you can even differentiate and have some students working to remediate their understanding of that topic and have other students move on. So it allows for that ability as well. And obviously, daily informal assessments are crucial, and these are something that I think most teachers do on a daily basis without even understanding or without even realizing that they're doing them. And hopefully, that these teachers that are doing that are seeing that their students are understanding the content and are having success in their classroom with student understanding. So overall, thank you for watching my assignment and have a great day.